thank you for joining me for this recording today, Willow.
Yeah, why this one in particular?
And thank you for joining me for this recording, Dak.
That's me. I'm Dak.
And his friend Jackster.
Yeah. Dak and Jackster. I wonder if because my dad just called you that really offhandedly recently, and I wonder if he, thought you were Dak Shepard, because I've never heard of a... I was thinking more, Dak and the Power of Juju. Were y'all in that one?
I know what that
Actually,
is.
Dak and the Power of Juju.
Right, no, yeah, but, see the rhyme.
Yeah, Tommy, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Could they make Tak and the Power of Juju today?
No, because of woke.
Right. I think he was just, so non-specific that it's probably harmless, but it is kind of weird how it was, our children's character is going to be this little, I guess, Aboriginal boy.
Oh, shit. I think... I'm gonna be real. I think I was getting it confused with Blitz the Time Sweeper or Blink. So when I said because of woke, that was supposed to be sarcastic.
Right. Do you know who I'm talking about now, though?
I think so, yeah.
He has a feather in his head, and I kind of don't know what he's supposed to be, if anything in particular, I guess.
They're a tribe, non-specific location in the jungle. That's it.
And one of them's voiced by Patrick Warburton, so it's authentic.
Select your character.
Rev up those fryers and fill your champagne glasses to the very tippy top. I'm Tommy, and you're listening to West Coast Toast and Roast, starring Willow, Dav, and yours truly.
Get ready for the next battle.
Welcome back to West Coast Toast and Roast. I'm not voiced by Patrick Warburton, but I'm told I can do a pretty good imitation of him. He goes, Peter, he's the poison for Cusco. Cusco's poison. And I'm Tommy.
I am voiced by Patrick Warburton, and I'm Willow.
I don't think Patrick Warburton has diabetes, but if I were voiced by Patrick Warburton, then he would have to be. I'm Dav. Or Dak.
Yeah.
Depends on who you ask.
So you're voiced by Patrick Warburton?
Yeah.
Can I ask Patrick Warburton a question?
Sure.
Why were you and Mr. Burcham, Patrick Warburton?
Hey Tommy, it's me, Patrick Warburton. Kill yourself.
You may be Patrick Warburton, but I'm Archer.
Nah, I'm Archer.
I'm Archer.
God, that was such an odd bit.
Yeah.
From back in the day. What the fuck were we thinking?
Man. I'll tell you what I'm thinking. We got 3 trailers to decree life or death to. It's, when it gets to be summertime, all the summer those trailers slow down a little, because all the summer trailers already came out in the spring, so it's a kind of a weird mid-period, but I found some good stuff. First, coming to Netflix next month is K-Pop Demon Hunters. This is by Sony Pictures Animation, who did Spider-Verse, and you could kind of tell by looking at it, they do the Spider-Verse things. I do have a weird, nagging, contrarian voice in the back of my head that's how much mileage are we going to get from Spider-Verse stuff for the rest of our lives? But, I don't think, I'm not running out of mileage on it just yet. I'm giving it a soft life, has some cute music in there. I'll probably throw it on when it comes up. How about y'all?
I'll also give it a life. I think it looks fun. I'm not super into K-pop, but the animation looks cool. And I always think archetype of celebrity or music star who also fights monsters is really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I give it a light life. I'm not sure it's going to be my cup of tea, but it definitely looks fun to watch.
I'm gonna give it a life because it's so stupid, and I like that. I like how fucking stupid it is. So yeah, it's a life from me.
It's a life from... Yeah, there we go.
I'm a simple man.
simple. I might need to endorse not watching it on Netflix if you catch my drift though, because I'm seeing like more and more weird AI assets and shit. It's
Oh,
pissing me off.
like what else?
I saw like, and I don't know. I'm so like, we've just hit the point where we're so brain poisoned that because tomorrow, as we record this, they're having their press event called Netflix to Dumb, which is a cute name because it goes to Dumb. And like when I opened Netflix today, just purely on accident, even they showed like a banner for it, and it was just like silhouetted people with their hands in the air, and I just like could not escape the notion that those simple silhouetted people might have been AI generated, and I kind of can't explain it. So that's kind of a bummer. But
No, I get you. The paranoia there is very real.
yeah, seriously, yeah. Because they've said they want to do like AI generated ads for the ad supported plan, I think starting
Which
next
is
year.
fucking mental.
I know, yeah, it's like, I don't know. We're living in the worst timeline. It's all good.
Yay.
Yeah. The video game trailer I got was Animal Use Protocol. We don't have as clear a release window on this one. What's really hard about the format of Trailer Life or Death is video game trailers don't come out as rapidly as the other two, or at least if they do, it's like something totally out of my sphere that I kind of don't know what they're talking about. And this is like asking you to wishlist it on Steam, which means it could be years. But like the premise is so fucking strange and they commit to it so hard that I had to give it a little shout out. I thought it looked really interesting. It is a shooter, but you're playing as an intelligent, looks like a bonobo or a chimpanzee, and he's got a little mouse attached to his gun who like talks to him through like through telepathic communication. It looks fucking bizarre, but I'm kind of here for it. A shooter needs some really bombastic element to really catch my attention, and having a little mouse guy in your gun does that for me. So this is a life from me.
Yeah, I think the trailer definitely isn't very good, but people in the comments were saying that it's like Dead Space-esque. And I'm always down for like, freaky creatures, so I give this one a life too.
I'll also give it a life. It looks like it's kind of an immersive sim, possibly. Maybe not as hardcore as something like System Shock or whatever, but I like that style of gameplay, so I'll be there for it.
All right, cool. That brings us to the final trailer, our TV show of the month. Also Netflix, which, kind of regretting, but oh well. Cells at Work. This is a live-action adaptation, and it kind of seems like they're batting peaks and valleys with, like, One Piece, and on the other hand, Avatar: The Last Airbender. I don't think this is, like, by Netflix the way those shows are. I think this is maybe imported someplace else. I've seen, like, a couple episodes of Cells at Work, and it's cool. It's cute. I did like the, like, Power Ranger approach to the aesthetic of this version, and the way it's carrying itself is kind of a tokusatsu thing. I think that's a cool way to take all the weird germy enemies. I'm probably not going to be on it like day one or anything, but I thought it might be a fun thing to throw in. It'll be a soft life from yours truly.
Yeah, I personally don't know what to rate it, because Cells at Work never really interested me, but the trailer does look like it's a good trailer. I think it's kind of the reverse of, like, the previous one, in that, like, I like the trailer, but I'm not super sure that, like, the content would be for me. That being said, it does look cute, and I do like the, kind of like what you said, like, the tokusatsu, approach to, like, the joins and stuff. So I give it I would say this is another light life.
I guess I'll go against the grain. I'll give it a death because I'm also not super familiar with Cells at Work, but just in general, I feel like with the live action adaptations, they tend to miss more than they hit.
That is true.
I'd rather just like...
Dak was more of an Osmosis Jones kid.
Oh, yes. Well, actually, no.
You ever watch that movie?
I don't think I've ever actually sat down and watched that movie before.
That movie's kind of fucking wild, to be honest with you.
It is a little crazy.
Sorry, I cut you off. I feel like you were about to say something else.
I was just gonna say, I think I would still, after watching the trailer, just rather like watch the anime or something.
That's fair. That's fair. Still waiting on that second season of Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, when are they gonna get around to
When are
that?
they gonna-
Yeah, what the heck?
I wanted to see more of that crazy little character they had at the end there.
Oh man, it feels like we were hearing about Cowboy Bebop getting made longer than it like existed as a new not new IP, but as like a product to be speculated on.
Yeah.
Fucking sad. Willow, we've all brought topics to the table for toasting and roasting, and as always, you're going to cut the ribbon. Let's hear it.
All right. So I am going to start off with a big toast. Wes Craven's New Nightmare. We watched this for movie night, and it is basically, what if Freddy Krueger was actually like a real thing in the context of the people who make the movie? And I think it's really cool all the way through. It stars it stars most of the actors from the original movie. Heather Langenkamp plays herself. Robert Englund plays himself. Wes Craven plays himself. And it's basically about that, main girl of the first movie. The actress is having nightmares about Freddy, which she can't really shake. And then through it, it turns out that even though these movies are movies in this world, that Freddy Krueger himself, or at least the thing that like presents himself as such, is beyond that and in real life. It is really cool. I kind of harken it back to In the Mouth of Madness, if you remember those.
Yeah.
It's like very reality bending, like you're not quite sure what's real, what's not, dreams within dreams. But it's honestly, I think for like a legacy sequel, I don't know how they could have made it any better. I thought it was spectacular. The actors playing themselves and just the actors in general are great. Robert Englund is back as Freddy, and he's always the fucking bomb. The design for Freddy is like a little different. Like he's got that kind of trench coat thing on, and I think it honestly works. I think it makes him look like a badass. But it's just like, it's a really cool like meta narrative on stories and how people interact with stories. And I don't think there's ever been like this amount of reflection on an IP in a movie. Like Birdman, from what I've heard, speaking, I know that's kind of random, but Birdman is kind of like a story about Michael Keaton and like how he played Batman, but it's still like he's not playing himself. The fact that like all these people are in the movie as themselves are really cool. And the ending...
I was gonna say, it kind of reminds me of how in the Scream movies, the events within those movies get adapted in universe as the Stab movies. It's always kind of a pain in the ass that they're like, well, fans of Stab, like Scream, Stab, like they have to kind of wiggle that line, whereas here they kind of, like, they don't fuck around with like, well, here's Heather Langenkamp, but she's playing someone with another name, but here's who she's supposed to be. Like, they lay it out really neatly and, like, forthcomingly.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's really cool because in the movie ends with allegedly Heather defeating this creature. Basically, the lore is that when Wes Craven wrote the Nightmare on Elm Street movies based off of like his nightmares, and it turns out that like the being that was giving him those nightmares like possessed the concept of Freddy Krueger. And the only way to seal him away is to make more Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Yeah. But then the movie ends with Heather supposedly beating Freddy, and then she gets a script from Wes Craven, and only then do we learn that the movie we have been watching is the movie that Wes Craven was writing in the movie.
Right.
Which I think that's a fantastic piece of meta commentary. I love Freddy Krueger. He's a silly little guy. And I thought this was like a great take on the character. And not just that, but like kind of fiction in general.
Right, and you can kind of, I feel like when movies are kind of about themselves, they take the approach of what if a crazy fan imitated what they see in the movie in that meta sense. And this one kind of takes it a step further by creating this demon character. And it doesn't establish that Freddy Krueger is real, but it does kind of play with, sounds corny, but like the idea of him and how people can kind of take concepts and run. And like there's probably a billion movies about this guy dressed up as Ghostface or Jason and imitated him, but taking it to a level of like that idea of evil manifesting through like a literal actual demon, it speaks to me a lot. Absolutely.
Yeah, I loved it. And like the stuff they do with the fact that like when they were making a new Nightmare on Elm Street movie, they made like a mechanical Freddy claw that like comes to life and kills people.
That was a really good, like, that's like a really solid opening blood bit that I'm really happy they open on.
Yeah. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was really, really cool. I don't know, Dav, do you have anything to add about it?
I liked it. There were some good kills in there, and I haven't seen too many other films in the series, but even so, without that context, I feel like it was pretty accessible.
Yeah. You can't go wrong with Freddy Krueger and Robert Englund. But yeah, I don't know. Do either of you have anything else to add, or shall I pass it to Dav?
Not really. I guess, what, if that demon took a form of something in your nightmares, what would it become?
Gosh, that's a good question.
Mine would be the teacher of a math class that I haven't attended all semester.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah. I guess for me, the most consistent like stress dreams I have, or like scary dreams, involve like me in a situation. So I guess the situation where I am like late to something and just getting later each moment.
Well, you said the situation. I thought you just meant the Jersey Shore guy.
Oh, him too. Yeah. He's also there.
What about you, David? Or Dak?
Well, Dak's nightmares usually consist of being attacked by things that you wouldn't normally be attacked by. Like, sometimes Dak will be, like, walking down the street, and then, like, a telephone pole or something will come to life and start attacking him, and that scares Dak quite a bit. So probably, like, a telephone pole that came to life.
Damn.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
I just want to make it very clear, I am Dak. I'm not Dav, I'm Dak.
And Dak speaks in the third person, ostensibly.
Sometimes.
Yeah, Dak speak like caveman.
Dak doesn't speak like a caveman, okay? There's a difference between speaking in third person and speaking like a caveman.
Dak speaks like a cave dork.
That's true.
Yeah.
Dak doesn't appreciate that.
Dr. Doom.
Dak, what's your first toast or roast of the day? Enlighten us. Entail us.
Well, the first one is going to be a toast of something that I think all of us enjoyed, and that's the movie Friendship.
Fuck yeah.
Which is, to give a basic premise, it's just about, like, if Tim Robinson was real.
Yeah, thank God he's not. Can you imagine how scary that would be?
That would be so scary.
I've seen people have taken selfies with him at the movie theater. You both regular.
Damn.
We'll catch him one of these days. But Tim Robinson plays the most uncomfortable person to be around on the planet, as he often is very good at doing. He plays this guy named Craig who lives in the small town of Clovis, Colorado, and he's going to make friends with and start to strangely kind of worship his next door neighbor, played by Paul Rudd, who is a weatherman in the area. Basically, kind of, there's a weird, like, sense of, like, that's the person that he wants to be, but then also he wants to kind of escape from his own life, which is just, like, gradually falling apart. At first, we don't really have the context as to why, like, his wife seems to be, like, cheating on him practically to his face, but also, like, they're trying to keep it civil. His wife and his son kiss each other.
Oh, yeah.
Just to get
That's
that one out of
true.
the way.
On the lips.
They kiss each other on the lips. Just random strange shit in his life, and we kind of watch throughout the movie, and I'm not gonna go into spoilers, but like we just kind of watched his gradual downfall as he kind of, mostly through his own fault, to be honest, just ruins every interaction he has with everybody. And just keeps on digging a deeper and deeper hole for himself. And it's just, classic Tim Robinson style humor. It works even in a feature-length format. But yeah, this is probably some of my favorite work of his so far, just at all.
It is very much like a full-length I Think You Should Leave episode, but there's also a part where he genuinely starts crying.
Oh, yeah. Well,
So the whole time you're like, haha, the new Marvel out, and then you see Tim Robinson like burst into tears in like a very legitimate way, and you're like, Tim, tell us about the new Marvel, please.
Yeah. Well, and I think if you could sum up kind of the conceit of a lot of Tim Robinson's humor of, like, he's trying to imitate what other people do and, like, pass off really confidently. Like, you have Paul Rudd, who has all this charisma that puts him on TV, and he's showing Tim Robinson, like, the sewers and, like, all these, like, really romanticized, like, cool guy ideals. And when Tim tries the same things, it's, like, just harder to pull off. Like, he wants to win over his wife the way Paul Rudd wins him over and takes her to the same sewer, and it just goes completely fucking pear-shaped the way it would for most fucking people. And I like the added layer, too, that Paul Rudd the Paul Rudd character has this, even though he is like that, like, he's that shiny example that Tim wants to be, who's, like, confident and knows everything, but there is, like, this small point where he's also kind of putting up a front, like, he wears a toupee. There's a point early on where he's like, I don't have a phone, I just live in the moment, and later on that just, like, turns out to be a lie for no fucking reason. And I think it very smartly approaches that Tim Robinson ethos that way.
Yeah, he's not the exclusive, like, he's not just the weirdest person in the world. There are other people who have their own flaws that he interacts with and just outshines with his own weirdness, basically.
Yeah.
Fucking amazing Connor O'Malley cameo, I would say. Oh man, you get small. There's like one or two like people at his work that I recognize as like borderline background I Think You Should Leave actors. He kind of brings in his old guard for weird fucking shit, and they're like well dialed. The son is really good. He has like a couple weird dialed in moments. I like just hearing all the people going to see this movie without context and being like, what the fuck is this?
It's well when we went, it was clearly like filled with I think you should leave fans because there were people who were just losing their shit just at like his general mannerisms, the way that we
Yeah.
do whenever we see him in anything.
It was almost like every time he spoke, the audience erupted into laughter.
Because, yeah, you get just so tuned into... Like, the first really hard laugh I had was, when he fills his coffee cup too much. And he's just, like, walking through the hall trying not to spill. Excuse me. Sorry. Oh, man. No, when after my screening, there was a line out the door to the men's room of guys with, like, hoodies and bad facial hair. And it's like, oh, yeah, I see.
Yeah. It's one of those movies that's like, it's so funny, but I think if I showed it to like my dad, he would think it was really fucking stupid.
Yeah, I think so.
If you're into that style of humor, then you'll love this movie, I think, because it pulls it off masterfully. Yeah, that's all I have for that. I'm excitedly looking forward to if Tim Robinson's going to make any more feature-length films in the future, because he really should.
Honestly,
I would wager. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, I would love something that's like that, but even turned up higher. Like it's even more fucking insane. I want something that feels like Frankenstein's chick or the driving crooner all the way through.
I'm looking at... We don't know what the budget was. I'm curious to see... And I'm sure it's, like, super low budget. I guess I'm curious to see how it ends up, performing overall. Because I think, like, people were like, well, it's kind of niche. It's, like, really hardcore Tim Robinson fans are going to see it. But it's been, like, booking out some packed theaters well beyond, I think, people expected. Like, I saw it, like... a Sunday a week after worldwide opening, and it was still, like, pretty well populated. I would not be surprised if just, like, the I Think You Should Leave hive, and the way... I think if you showed most people a picture of Tim Robinson, they'd be like, oh, it's that guy from the memes, because people use him as reaction gifs a lot. I have a good gut feeling this might overperform in a way that might open up... Not, like, gigantically. It's not going to be, like... Lilo and Stitch, which don't get me started, but I do think it may surprise some people and lead to some opening doors and some blank checks there.
I could see it. I mean, I still see screenings for it, like a decent number of them being listed at our local theaters, even though it's competing against like Lilo and Stitch and Mission Impossible right now. So I wasn't really expecting that to have a theatrical run this long.
No, yeah. Well, it went to Alamo Sloan's Lake, which is like kind of the art house location, and then stretched over to Westminster, which I think is a really good indicator that it has enough demand that they needed to spread it over to the more popular one.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Do you mind if I take the wheel?
Yep, pass it over to you.
Okay, well, I made you all sit through... one of my most anticipated movies of the year was Another Simple Favor. This is the sequel to A Simple Favor, which is one of my all-time favorites. And I showed them both to you recently, both of you. And it always overjoys me that A Simple Favor... The first one really does have, I'd say... a bit of secret sauce that people who aren't into... Like, I think if you describe that film in genre, it is totally an airplane drama, is how I would describe it. And I was like, I have no idea how Willow and Dav are going to react to this. And you both, like, liked it. And I was, like, jumping for joy. The second one is really, really dumb. And I've watched it twice. But, you know, not dumb in a way that I found it anywhere near unenjoyable. It is, I think, the best case... It's probably the best case scenario for a Simple Favor sequel, to be perfectly honest. This one opens on the antagonist from the first one, Blake Lively's character, getting released from prison, and they kind of hand-wave how it happened. She's just like, the legal system sucks. Don't even ask questions. And she asks Stephanie, Anna Kendrick's character, who got her thrown in jail to be her maid of honor at her lavish Capri wedding to an Italian mobster. And I think that I felt the setup to this movie was a little bit genius, because I think the big challenge of sequels is like, well, how do you get these characters to make all those same mistakes twice? Like, if Stephanie Smothers is not fucking stupid, she stops interacting with Blake Lively. But Blake Lively has the leverage of, I can sue you for defamation because you wrote a book about me, and this is your chance to write another book. And I think the characters are very well motivated that way. I do think it quickly veers into Stupid Town. It has really just like bizarre plot turns. I feel like the husband from the first movie must have pissed somebody off, because, spoiler warning, he dies jacking off in this movie when he is not treated so derisively in that first one. So I don't know if he just like pissed off the director or what the hell. I would say you get the mystery gets kind of tangled, and it plays into some plot elements where it's like, well, that shouldn't be possible. There's another really big plot twist that borders on anime levels of stupidity, I suppose. But like, I found it hard to suggest that I was not having fun watching it. It is like, Stephanie and Emily are two of my favorite characters. Just like, I think their writing is still very on point. I think they have a really fun banter. I think Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick have a really strong dynamic, and whenever they share a scene, just kind of shooting back and forth, it's really good. Blake, I feel like Blake just has this really masterful control over who Emily as a character is, and this really specific sarcasm and dry wit. She calls her husband her baby mama, which, wonderful. It is like a 6 out of 10 sequel to what is, in my opinion, a perfect film. And that's, again, like, just sometimes that's all you can ask for. Did y'all have anything you want to share about this one?
I feel like the first one is like a little zany, but it's still like down to earth enough that it kind of works. This one this one is like occasionally an espionage thriller.
This is a cartoon, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't always work, but it sure is. It's an interesting movie. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, the villain, I think you always laugh at the villain, not death, but demise in the first one. I kind of like that they kind of plus it up a notch for this one.
That is very true.
Yeah. Man. Yeah, no, and I think I had a lot of fun with watching this one. It was produced very quietly. I think it's a shame all the legal drama with Blake Lively, I think, kind of hampered the press of it. They had to, like, disable YouTube comments on the upload of the trailers. I showed y'all what Anna Kendrick said on the red carpet for it, right?
I think you did remind.
They were like, well, how's it impacted by current events? Like, obviously alluding to the Blake Lively lawsuit, and she just goes, why? What happened? I've been on ayahuasca for a year. Oh, man. And, like, people love to start rumors that they hate each other. I wouldn't believe it just based on how well they act together. They do a super good job in this, I feel.
I do agree that the acting, they're good actors. I think the big problem is with the story, because it's like, wait a second, this favor isn't so simple anymore.
Oh, yeah. Very complex favor.
They sure do love incest in this fucking film series.
Oh yeah, Jesus Christ.
I truly could not explain that.
See, Dev, you should not have brought that up, because I kind of forgot about it, but like, now that you mention it, there is like a lot of incest in these two movies.
Should we just like bury the lead and spoil the really big plot twist so we could discuss that more?
If you don't want spoilers, skip ahead like a minute and a half.
You've got like because in the first movie they establish that Blake Lively is a twin and or a triplet, but they killed the triplet in the womb. They choked her with the umbilical cord, I believe. In this film, it turns out the third triplet is alive. Hope, faith, and charity. And so Blake Lively, one of the magic tricks she kind of does in that first one is playing the two sisters, one who's very disheveled and like gross and weird, and the other who's Emily and put together. And in this one, she plays basically Smeagol Blake Lively, who's been locked in an attic and fed fish heads all her life. And she's fucking insane and wants to fuck her twin. And that's what I mean when I said it borders on insane cartoon. The first Simple Favor is based on a book. I kind of doubt there's a sequel to that book where it turns out there's an attic baby Blake Lively somewhere waiting to be unchained and freed.
That's like the in the author's note, like, and also this is happening.
Also, yeah. But hey, another Simple Favor, a installment in our seminal airplane thriller franchise. Who knows? I think Anna Kendrick, love her as I do, seems like if it's not a deeply personal project these days, you need a really big paycheck to get her on board with something. She's not like working at the insane rate that she used to. They do kind of end it on a cliffhanger. Who knows? Maybe in another 8 years, those two kids are going to be going to college and there's yet another Simple Favor. All right, Willow, back to you.
All right. So next it's 3 toasts this month. It was a pretty good month. Just last night, Jay and Dav and I watched this movie kind of on a whim called Dave Made a Maze. I don't think any of us knew what to expect from it, only that it was kind of based on House of Leaves, which, if you're a fan of the podcast, you know that's one of Dav and I in particular's favorite stories ever. This movie rocks, and I wish I had heard of it earlier. It's basically about this guy's wife comes home and she sees that her husband has set up like a cardboard fort in the middle of the living room, and he's like, yeah, I was just like doing this project and building like a cardboard fort from the inside out, but it got carried away. It's bigger on the inside now, you can't come in. And so, like House of Leaves, no one believes him, but the wife brings in like some of his friends and a camera crew, again, that happens in House of Leaves, and they enter this, like, from the outside it's probably like 6 feet by 6 feet. They enter it and all of a sudden it's a fucking labyrinth.
Oh, cool.
It is really cool in both effects and environment. All of the environments are made out of cardboard or reused shit, and it is utterly fantastic. Seeing them have to like escape the maze and like go through, and some of the things they see is incredible. There's a minotaur in this maze who has a head made out of paper mache and hooves made out of paint cans. And it is more so of like a horror comedy than just like a straight up horror, but it is like a very, like, the environments are really creepy. This kind of like long, sprawling, infinite labyrinth that, to be fair, we don't ever really get an explanation of, and I think it honestly works. Just some, like, I guess, like, notes about it. There's this one scene where they're in, like, a trash compactor room, and the thing that's, like, throwing trash into the room is, like, this giant cardboard papier-mâché tiki head. there's a scene where like one of their friends dies and comes back as like a paper mache monster.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and it's also funny too. People do die in this. There are booby traps in the maze. But when they do die in like, regular ways. Like one of them gets their head cut off, one of them gets impaled. But instead of using blood, they use string and yarn and streamers. So it makes it really, it just makes it like really fun to see where it's like someone is getting like their intestines torn out and it's just like a bunch of string flying everywhere.
This sounds fucking rad. So it sounds like they pulled off a Jujutsu Kaisen domain expansion where when you enter this fort, you become like victim to its logic.
No, 100%. Yeah.
That's awesome. I like that.
Yeah, it's really cool. And then on top of that, there's also kind of like we never figure out how the maze was built or how it's like building itself on its own, only that it's probably connected to Dave's imagination. But then it's also just like kind of a story about like, what it means to make art and like the things we do when we are creative. Like Dave says, like, he doesn't know how it got here. He just wanted to make something, and that's enough. And I think that's, like, really profound, because, like, throughout the movie, they're like, why don't you just tear down the fort? And he's like, no, I can't. I worked hard on this. Which is, like, silly in the concept of the movie, but understanding who Dave is, and, like, the fact that, he's a struggling artist who hasn't really made it anywhere, and this is the one thing that has happened that's interesting. It's almost like even though it is like a decidedly negative thing, it's still something that like he believes in and he loves. I think I'm definitely going to pick it for movie night one of these nights because it is so much fun. Yeah, I know, Dav, obviously you suggested this movie, so I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I heard about this through the House of Leaves subreddit, because people were recommending it there as like clearly being a lot of inspiration in there, and that is definitely true. But yeah, I thought like the production design and stuff was just fantastic, and a lot of the way that things are presented, and it's just very creative in that way. I do have to say though, there's a bit of a monkey's paw with this movie, and that's like, it's again very very good production design and very cool ideas. It was also made by hipsters.
Yeah, there is a bit of like just weird stuff in it.
There's like 3 guys in this movie who look exactly the same.
Beards and beanies.
Beards, beanies, glasses. They're all like 35, and the only reason the main character doesn't look like that, I guess, is because he had like cut his hair and shaved his beard at the time, but his actor usually looks exactly like that too.
There's oat milk running through those guys' veins.
Well, that's fantastic. But yeah,
I was wondering if y'all saw the sequel to this movie.
Oh,
what's that, Tommy?
Dak made a maze.
Dak Matakak.
Dak Macacac.
Dak Macatak. That's when he worked at McDonald's, which you did.
I did. I worked at McDonald's. Dak did. Me, Dak. I worked at McDonald's. But yeah, so yeah, there's hipsters. There's like, it seems like there's some predefined like relationship between like the actors who worked on this, because I think that it's one of those like, they're a friend group or something that makes movies together a lot.
I know, Dav, can I share something from when we were watching it?
Yeah.
They have a joke where like one of the characters says, "Where's the beard?" and the other one says, "On my face." And they do that they do that a few times, and when we were watching that, Dav is just like, this is just like watching one of the friend group bits, but not knowing what it is.
I kind of like that though. I think when Harry met Sally, one of the best moments of that movie is Harry will randomly turn to Sally and just go, "Today we will talk like this," because it's just one of those things that friends do that no one can explain, and it makes it feel really authentic that way.
Yeah, there is a lot of authenticity there too. Like in a lot of ways they do feel like real people, but also there's like a character who's just this woman who's clearly on way too much caffeine, and from the second she shows up at their house, she's like, "Let's go into the maze. Let's go into the maze."
Bechdel test attempted. 5, 4.
But yeah, I think that the biggest weakness of this movie probably is the writing. There's I mean, it's a funny movie. There are a lot of, like, I'd say funny moments, but then there are also moments that are like clearly trying to be a joke and just do not hit at all. And some of the performances I think are pretty. I think, like, specifically the guy playing Dave is kind of giving nothing, but
Yeah.
it's still it's just admirable how creative and how well pulled off the whole aesthetic is of just everything is cardboard and made from some other box or something. And I think a lot of the times when I was watching it, I was thinking about how just every room looks like something you could walk into at, like, Meow Wolf.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it is
Very
very
much
Meow
like that.
Wolf core.
Did this get like a wide release? It sounds like it would be a festival darling that goes like straight to digital.
I think it was at a film festival. It's called Slam Dance.
Okay, it's one of the more indie, like Fantastic Fest adjacent.
Yeah, this is clearly a very, like, indie amateurish movie.
Oh yeah. But it sounds like to its benefit though.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah. Well, I'd be happy when you pick that one whenever you feel like it. I'd totally give that a watch. It sounds really fun.
Yeah, that might be one. That might be like my next one, because I really did just like obviously I do agree with Dad that, like, the script can be weak and the characters can be a little annoying, but, like, I think everything else is so good that it's easy enough to look past it.
All right.
But yeah, I shall pass it to Dav.
Well, Dav's not here, so I guess Dak will have to pick that one up.
Oh yeah, Dak, could you please do your turn?
Where is Dev? He's getting our coffee order?
He's dead.
Oh, that fucking insulin got him.
Damn.
Yeah, he was addicted to that stuff. It's disturbing.
Because that's all diabetes is an insulin addiction. Like, you just have to, like, power through it.
Pretty much,
Like,
yeah.
pray it away.
Those withdrawal syndromes, they will stop.
Yeah. Might cut that so I don't get sued, but
I'm going to give another toast, and that's to Season 2 of Andor. Good old Tony Gilroy bringing us more of the best of not just Disney Star Wars, but Star Wars in general.
also
'Cause it's
definitively
so
the
good.
final season, correct?
It is the final season. It's the ending of this, without going into spoilers, does lead directly into the events of Rogue One.
Okay.
So I'm really happy we got it. You know, it didn't overstay its welcome. It's just two, what feels like perfectly paced seasons of an origin story for a character nobody really cared about until this came out. But you know, as somebody who loved Rogue One, this was always something I was kind of looking forward to, and then Season 1 was just peak, so I was so happy that Season 2 is finally coming out after almost 3-year wait here, and we finally get to wrap everything up. We finally get to see kind of where everybody goes right before Rogue One and how they get there, particularly characters like Mon Mothma, and then, you know, some of the more new characters that were introduced in Season 1. So I honestly am very satisfied with the way everybody's stories wrap up. I was kind of questioning while watching the first season where they were going to take some of the characters who were loyal to the Empire, because there are, I think, two characters in particular who are kind of, I'd say, main characters with their own plots, who are part of the Empire. They're like cogs in the machine and kind of doing everything in their power to serve it. So I was curious where they were going to go with that morally, but I'm pretty happy with how they went with it, because it's clearly a portrayal of, like, not necessarily excusing the actions of fascists, but kind of showing how fascism can seriously change seemingly normal people, without, again, not justifying or excusing their actions, which was really cool. And then beyond that, of course, the main character, Cassian Andor himself, kind of going from his character arc in the first season, going from somebody who was very passive and trying to stay out of any sort of political alignments, to joining the rebellion. And then in this season, basically showing how he continues to buy into that even more and more, and how his character forms until it becomes something much more like what you see him in Rogue One.
Yeah. I saw a lot of kind of, not hand-wringing, but a lot of speculation about this or that character making a cameo, and it sounds like they were able to, and encouraged to practice a lot of restraint with that.
They definitely did. There are mentions of characters that they could easily have just turned into a cheap cameo. But really it's more like name drops, and then there are a few sort of cameos that come into this, which are, I think, I don't recall any case where they, like, raised a character from the dead or anything. It was just, like, a modern character, like, what's his face? The, Krennic from Rogue One. Kind of his, because his wasn't even just like a full-on single scene cameo of like, oh, there he is, isn't he cool? It was, he started to sort of play a little bit of a part in the story. So I think that it was nice that they showed restraint in that sense. And then I think probably my favorite thing that they avoided was having a cameo from a Palpatine, because they name drop him so many times to the point I thought that they were going to show him. And then there is a scene where, like, again, not going into spoilers here, but one of the kind of higher-ups in the Empire is, like, has just failed in his mission or something, and he's about to go speak to the Emperor to, like, report that he failed. And so I was kind of expecting, like, oh, okay, they're gonna probably show that scene happening, and that's going to be our Palpatine cameo. And instead, the way they handle it is the guy just kills himself before he has to deal with it.
Fair tactic at that point.
It would be kind of funny if they had like a mention where Andor was like, don't you think that, like, green guy can help us? And the other person's like, no, he's going to a cantina in Mos Eisley. I hope he makes it out okay.
Are you talking about Max Rebo?
I'm talking about Greedo, Tommy. Max Rebo is blue.
Yeah, true. He's like turquoise, like teal.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, when are we getting our Greedo series?
Wasn't there... I think I read a thing... I might have told y'all about this. There was supposed to be, like, a young Greedo in the prequels, like a kid, and he would be, like, I think bullying young Anakin, and Qui-Gon, like, kind of breaks it up, and he specifically tells Greedo, you're gonna be in for a harsh end with an attitude like that, young man.
You're gonna get shot in a cantina by a smuggler with that attitude, young man.
Now, you will shoot first, because the other guy doesn't have it coming.
You will say McClunky.
That's like the tagline. It's like a Greedo spy thriller, and it's like, say McClunky, Greedo.
But I'm happy you mentioned that because it's good to compare how in this lately Disney era of Star Wars of kind of just more and more and more trying to ask your nostalgic adoration from you and having diminishing returns in that this is like something that really stands on its own and is just so good in that way, and it's like surprise. I think it might be the most like adult mature approach to this universe we've gotten.
Well, all of Star Wars is for adults. Like, I don't see the distinction you're making.
Just in a sense that this is like one of those series that I think that maybe children shouldn't watch some of the episodes in this because it gets heavy.
Mm-hmm.
There are, I mean, the way that this show handles like sort of the unfortunate reality of like sexual assault by officers of the law.
Right.
Not something I ever expected to see in a Star Wars media ever.
I saw people talking about it and being, normal. So I'm glad to hear they stuck the landing. Yeah.
But yeah, it was handled well. It's very mature. It's excellent in that sense. I'm not gonna say it's like super gory and violent or anything, but it's mature more so in the sense of how the story is written and how the characters are portrayed, and that's just refreshing to see. Again, especially from Disney Star Wars. I know I rag on them so much, but like frankly, come on.
Yeah.
You need to slow the fuck down.
I was saying this last time, but it's also I have no idea what the fuck a skeleton crew is.
Just so many series I have not had the slightest bit of an interest in watching.
Well, it's like when Disney acquires Marvel, it's like, well, we can make something about any of these characters in weird, distant worlds, and they haven't been batting 100 there, but it's had like the odd return that's worked out, and you could do like, I don't know why there hasn't been, I don't know, a Star Wars. Like, explore all those other planets. I would watch, like, a dialogue-less Jawa series. Not in a heartbeat, but before I would ever pay mind to what the hell the skeleton crew is supposed to be. It seems like they're, like... Aren't they... Because they packed, like, 15 different things just into, like, the Clone Wars continuity, haven't they?
I mean, Clone Wars is insane. Yeah.
Right.
Most of what they're making pretty much just takes place between 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few, like, I think Acolyte is, like, the first time they tried to make something that takes place, like, well into the past, but it's not super far removed, like, Plagueis is there and shit, so there's still a degree of separation there, and it just wasn't good.
Give us detours. Give us detours. Come on. Do you know detours, Dav?
I don't think so.
Oh, is that, yo, the Empire's pretty chill.
It is. Star Wars Detours is a CGI, I guess I would best compare it to, it's supposed to be like Robot Chicken. And it's a CGI cartoon where, like, all the Star Wars characters are, like, chippies of themselves, and they do, like, comedic skits. Like, you have, basically every tired Star Wars joke you can imagine. And it was official LucasArts, content, and you can find, like, scraps of it online, but it's, like, vaulted with the Christmas special, like, we'll never fucking release this, and it's kind of... even more than the Christmas special, because that's available in its entirety. It's kind of a white whale for Star Wars fans.
That sounds insane. When did that come out?
Let's do a tiny deep dive. Let's see. I don't think it ever came out. I think let's see, Star Wars Detours. Unaired American. It was unaired. It is differentiated. So, okay. The series was produced by Lucasfilm Animation in collaboration with Robot Chicken creator Seth Green. 39 episodes of the show have been produced. Their release has been old since 2013, following Disney's acquisition of Lucasfilm. So it sounds like this was ready in the can, and right when it was about to be ready, Disney snatched up Lucas and was like, no, this isn't what we're doing.
God, those fucking monsters.
Okay, but so the context was, though, that this was after the prequels were out, but before the sequels.
Yes, yeah. Looking at voices of Seth Green, D. Bradley Baker, Ahmed Best, Billy D. Williams, Seth MacFarlane, Zachary Levi, Joel McHale, Weird Al Yankovic.
Ah, shit! God damn it!
Footage of the series debuted at Star Wars Celebration 5 in mid-2012. It was planned to be set between Episode 3 and Episode 4. In March 2013, Lucasfilm postponed the release of the series after reconsidering whether a comedy series would be a sensible way to introduce the new franchise to a new fans when a sequel trilogy was in the plans. That September, Seth Green said 39 episodes had been completed, with 62 additional scripts finished.
Oh my god.
In November 2020, a 6-minute episode, Dog Day Afternoon, was leaked onto the internet. The episode features Zuckuss and 4-LOM, played by Andy Richter and Weird Al Yankovic, attempting to rob Dexter's diner. Lando Calrissian, Boba Fett, and Jabba the Hutt also appear. The episode was taken down shortly after it leaked.
God, they do not want that shit out there.
No. Oh man. So sorry to derail you, but I feel it's for the good of the public that awareness of Star Wars detours is. I want that, and I want the Alien vs. Predator anime that Disney is too lame to release.
True.
Yeah.
True. I mean, I think that Andor has been very successful, though. So.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully that does something. Maybe Disney will at least think about that for a second. But they probably won't.
They're seeing the success of that and comparing it to the success of Lilo and Stitch right now.
Yeah.
And I think... I'm not gonna roast it, because I haven't watched Lilo and Stitch. I just want it on the record that shit, disgusts me. That Nani yeets Lilo to the state, and that's the new ending.
Yay.
Ugh. Sorry? I do have a roast of something else. Do you mind if I take that initiative?
Yep, I'm gonna pass it off to you.
Okay, so roast incoming. Set out the fires. People aren't gonna like this one, maybe. Probably, it's fine. So the Capcom Fighting Collection 2 came out. It's fucking awesome. It has all the games that it promised it would. Because what rocks about that second collection is it's everything where we were like, it's kind of a pipe dream that they'd have Power Stone and the SNK crossovers, but it probably won't happen. And they're just like, here you go. And I'm like, sweet. I love that they released these over the summer as well, because I just have all this free time to... I think when the first collection came out, it was summer, and I stayed up till 3 a.m. trying to beat Akuma in Puzzle Fighter. Those fucking fighting games... A Capcom fighting game is amazing to suddenly lose hours to. That said, there is one game on that collection that I did not fall in love with the way I did most everything else. And it's not the redheaded stepchild you'd think it is, because there's Capcom Fighting Jam on there, which is known to be kind of, a mistake among Capcom fighting games. I think that one is, functional. It is okay. I was deeply disappointed by Power Stone 2. A couple months ago on this podcast, I talked about the first Power Stone. And I had, that popped up at my arcade months before this collection came out, and I got to play it at home. Still whips evil either way. I beat it at the arcade, I beat it here at home. It's one of my new favorite fighting games. One of my new favorite Capcom games. That, and a lot of people are like, oh, Power Stone 2 is a step up, or it's kind of even, and I think those people are the wrongest anyone has ever been. I think Power Stone 2 is a fucking mess. The first Power Stone, and, you know, it's not a mechanically deep fighting game, but I think it is like if you distilled fighting games to the simplest possible formula, but kept it interesting, you would have Power Stone. I don't like, there's not a wild tier difference between the characters. You can kinda do largely the same stuff with everybody, but I think that, and on paper it sounds cheap and stupid. Like, you have to collect the Power Stones to transform, and basically when you transform, the other player's fucked. But what that opens up, along with the omnidirectional movement and the upward camera angle, is you're just like, there's zero time to not be making decisions at every second you're playing Power Stone. There, you know, I can clock that there is a Power Stone closer to my opponent than me. And I know if they collect all three, I'm fucked. I have to decide right then and there if it's worth it to try and run after the Power Stone and get it first, or are they too close? Is it worth it to try and let them pick it up but knock them out of it? Or there's a weapon behind me, do I let them have the stone but rely on the item behind me that could also undo their progress? You are always making a significant decision, and quickly and fucking vitally. There's rarely a moment in Powers, and, you know, I make it sound like it's just as mechanically sound and logical as your third strikes. No, there's party elements, it's chaotic, it's kind of a baby's first fighting game, but I think there's no simplistic, unconventional fighting game that still could teach an outsider what's fun about fighting games as a whole, the way Power Stone can, the way it encourages you to make decisions. And Power Stone 2 is like a fucked up Mario Party knockoff. And there's people will say like, well, Power Stone 1 is a better fighting game and Power Stone 2 is a better party game. I would argue Power Stone 2 is barely a fighting game at all, because the extent of combat in Power Stone 2 is like swiping at each other the way you do when you're punching Wario in a Mario Party, like, knock off the platform way. It's not a fighting game. It changes so the fights are now 4 characters on screen instead of 2. And that's pretty intuitive, because you look at those big-ass Power Stone stages and you're like, why can't there be 4 characters on here? But when it's just 2 fighters on those gigantic maps with items everywhere, you're always reacting to that one other opponent, whereas when there's 4 all at once, it just becomes 4 characters fucking around. So that same process of, okay, they're near a weapon, I have the stone, I have to react like this, is out the fucking window, because you have 3 fuckers all throwing shit and running around. Again, and that works kind of as a party game, but this only came out 1 year after the first Power Stone, and the software does not seem all that well calibrated for 4 fucking characters at once. So it kind of, like, the second I moved around in Power Stone 2, I just had that, like, oh, like, it felt rougher, and the characters move a little slower. Graphics are, like, fine if, like, you know, but again, when you're only focusing on 2 characters, you see all the rich detail that they put in that first one, you know? Even though it's a super simple fighting game, there's still bits where, like, there's Wang Tang, who's, like, the kung fu fighter, and he can spin around pillars and climb on ceilings, kinda, depending on the stage. Or if you're playing as a bulkier character, like Galuda, he just instead of spinning on pillars, he pulls them the fuck out of the earth and swings them. Whereas in this one, when, you know, maybe there's those small little intuitive differences, but there's 4 characters fucking around it, you know, like I'm saying, and I can't really pay all that much mind to it. And I don't feel like... I just feel like I'm getting in a Looney Tunes dust cloud with fists flying everywhere, as opposed to the first Power Stone being cartoony and being silly and being a little kusoge, but I feel like there's truly an intelligently designed game there.
Yeah, I did get the Capcom Fighting Collection as well, and I'm gonna be honest, neither Power Stone really did it for me. I don't think that's quite my shit.
I could see that, but okay. Do you agree with me though that 2 feels a little rougher?
Yeah, I do think that like I think there's just too many people in 2.
Too many
I
people.
think like it does just kind of feel like running around and like getting hit and then picking something up and then hitting someone and then getting hit. It just doesn't it doesn't feel it the gameplay loop isn't fun.
I'm a little bummed to hear you didn't click with the first one, but maybe if I kick your ass in it a few times when I visit next month, it'll make more sense. No, I'm kidding though. I'm kidding.
Yeah, you wouldn't kick my ass.
It would be kind of fun to. I kind of imagine it like I'm like, oh, I'm so good at Power Stone, and you beat me, and I'm like, I don't like this game anymore. There's new characters in 2, and they kind of suck. I don't know if you clocked that, because who did you pick when you tried it?
None of the characters really like stood out to me, so I chose Eddie Falcon.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I thought you might like the little cowboy who's in 2.
Oh, I did play. I played the cowboy in 2, and then the Falcon in 1.
He's okay, and I kind of like. There's a chef character introduced in 2, and when he powers up, he turns into like a Barney the dinosaur, and that was weird enough that I was kind of into him. And then you have like this dumb Newsies kid and 2 Parasol girls, and and like Falcon's dad or something who's like a clone, and that's all you get for new characters. It kind of blows.
Yeah, I was disappointed with the amount of characters and like the choice of characters in 2, but I do love that cowboy.
Yeah. Would you ever play Jack? I thought you might like Jack.
Oh, which one is he?
Someone call for me.
He's in bandages. He kind of looks like Voldo. I think he's supposed to be kind of like Jack the Ripper.
Huh. I guess I'll have to try that again, because I don't think he stood out to me.
I would encourage you to give the first one more go. Mostly, like, I love that game, and I'd be bummed if it just fell like. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. But I think that when it clicks, it's like, oh, like interesting. I think there's a way to make it really cool. I think Power Stone 2 is a fucking nightmare. Did you make it to the bosses of the first Power Stone?
No, the first one I got like pretty frustrated with too, so I like went to the second one to just see if there was like anything else, but
the bosses, you get 2 boss battles, 2 rounds with these intimidating boss fighters. One is an undead pirate captain with a cannon for an arm named Kraken, and he's fucking sweet. And then the final boss is this big buff dude called Vulgus, and he is hard as fuck. But I beat him, and then the Power Stones, like, mutate him into an Akira kind of deal. And it's fucking cool, and you have to fight him one more time. The final boss of Power Stone 2 is this big-ass zombie that you can stun lock into a loop that kills him in a few minutes flat. It blows. It sucks donkey shit. I hated Power Stone 2. And when I looked at, like, backlogged, people are like, it has, like, a 0.1 better average, and people act like it's better, and I think it's nonsense.
Yeah, that does seem like kind of bullshit.
Yeah. Oh, and I didn't even mention how, and you might have noticed this as well, basically, Power Stone 2 is Power Stone 1 with 4 characters fucking around, and halfway through the fight, you just do Mario Party shit. Like, there's a stage where you're on a plane, and you all drop off and you do the free fall minigame from Mario Party. Or there's a dungeon where an Indiana Jones boulder starts spilling after you. And I guess that's like fine, but there's still items all over the place that they seem to expect you to use when they just don't make that much fucking sense. I don't know. And there's a feeling of blue balling that kind of comes with Power Stone 2 as well, because There's also the fact that there's 4 characters on the battlefield, and the battle ends when you knock out 2. The last other one who survives follows you into the next stage. And if your next stage, and if this sounds like I'm not making any fucking sense, it's because it doesn't. Because if that character follows you, if it's a boss stage you're going to, they're your ally. If it's not, and it's another 4-way fight, they're still your enemy. But they have some kind of ally code as your enemy that prompts you to revive them if you knock them out. And out of morbid curiosity, I'm like, oh, do I bring this person back and then they help me? And I just, like, brought back my enemy.
Yeah, that's brutal.
It's fucking... And there's no, like, friendly fire moderation. So when I was fighting the final boss, my quote-unquote ally was, like, trying to help me, but I'm getting caught in the crossfire. So I just, like, old yellered them and knocked them out, and the rest of the battle was fucking easier. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm supposed to do this or what the fuck. That game is a fucking mess, if my tangle of explanation has not made it clear.
Yeah, it doesn't sound very interesting.
No, I don't know how people like it. Big thumbs up to Power Stone 1, though, for me in particular. Willow, we have one last rotation. Go for it.
All right. So, as I mentioned last time, I'm trying to read more trans art, and there are a lot of cool webcomics. I've been reading a few. The one I want to talk about today is called Yellow Brick Ramble. It is a really cool webtoon that is an adaptation of the original The Marvelous Land of Oz book by L. Frank Baum. So even though it is contextualized in, like, you know, the story that the main character is trans, it's still a pretty faithful adaptation to the original story, at least so far from what I've read, because it's not done. Yeah. It's about someone named Tip, who is born in Oz after Dorothy saves everyone, and her mom is, very, very not okay with her being trans. She, like, asks her mom to, like, magic her into a girl, and she doesn't. So, Tip runs away, meets Jack Pumpkinhead and a sawhorse, and they go through Oz. And it's a really fun story. The art style is super good. The characters are really fun. But the big thing I didn't know is when I looked at the original story, there is actually a fucking trans character in Wizard of Oz.
Oh, I didn't realize.
Yeah, so the deal is the original book is about someone named Tip. But at the end of the book, it turns out that Tip was Ozma, the true ruler of Oz. And to hide her away, they put her soul in, like, in the body of, like, a baby boy.
Oh.
So it's, like, only by technicality trans, but I think taking that information and applying it to, like, you know, modern day, like, trans perspective is really cool. Like, even, I don't know how the story's gonna go, but about, like, halfway through, Tip changes her name to Ozma. It's just got, like, it's got a lot of heart and soul, and, like, after each chapter, the author will, like, give a few notes about, like, how it connects to the original story. But it's also just, like, I don't know, it does have trans themes. But it's also just, like, a ton of fun. Like, it's really heartwarming to see this, like, you know, trans girl go on adventures and, like, even with the difficulties she faces, find new friends and, you know, enjoy herself. She meets the Scarecrow and the Tin Man, which is pretty fun. I like the designs for both of them. Yeah, it's hard to say because it is, like, I think it's only got, like, 100 pages, so it is still, like, relatively new, but I wanted to shout it out because, like, I don't know, I really like, it's kind of like the People's Joker effect. I love it when like, really passionate creatives take a story about, like, being trans or, like, you know, being being a minority or oppressed and put it in the lens of something that is already known. I feel like that can help contextualize it a lot better. And I think knowing about like the original, story of Wonderful Land of Oz, and that, that does, even if only by technicality, have trans themes, kind of makes it all the better. Like this, the author clearly just like really cares about the world of Oz and is really like, it's not just a story about like, oh yeah, trans person in Oz for the sake of it. It's that, but it's also like they put in so much detail about the world. And even though it's not like I guess there is no one-to-one recreation since there's never been like a definitive Oz, because like obviously the movies have their differences and such. But it's just really faithful. It's really fun. It's like, it's a feel-good story, but also deals with heavy themes. I recommend it very much. I think it's a lot of fun, and I think it's worth reading.
And this is just an indie webcomic.
Yeah, it's on Webtoons. It's called Yellow Brick Ramble by Daisy FM. Yeah, and it's really cool to like, obviously if you didn't know, I'm transgender. So it's but it is nice to like, I don't know, to connect with a character like that in a piece of media that I already know. It's just a lot of fun. I think like even if you're not a trans person, you can just read it and be like, this is a really fun, really like silly, really well-made comic. I think it's a big recommend, even if you're not like explicitly looking for something with trans themes,
Absolutely. Just to rewind a little bit, is Wonderful Land of Oz different from The Wizard of Oz?
It's the sequel that L. Frank Baum wrote to The Wizard of Oz. So it's same author. Yeah.
Does that have the Gnome King?
Oh shoot, I can't remember. I don't think so.
Sorry.
I was gonna say, because in this story, Dorothy, at least from what I know, Dorothy has not come back.
Did someone scream on your end?
I heard Jay screaming.
Oh yeah, I think they're playing Dead by Daylight.
Oh. Do you want to go check on them?
No, I know they are playing Dead by Daylight.
Okay. I wonder if that's gonna come through on the podcast record, because I could hear that.
They're still yelling, and I'm still picking it up on my mic.
Oh my god. They're gonna edit this episode for me if it becomes a pain in the ass. I mean, I have to put another Mario song in there.
I mean, it's only picked up that once, right?
As far as I could tell, Dav says he got a couple, but I guess we'll see.
I've got it.
I doubt it. I'm joking around. It's not a big deal.
Okay.
Joking. I've been getting into like more like Divergent Oz adaptations. I loved Return to Oz when I watched that shortly after Wicked came out, and I really loved I made you all watch The Wiz, and we all liked that. And I grew up around people that act like The Wiz is like a Batman and Robin level flop, and they're so wrong about that. I think that movie is fucking amazing. So I'll take all the different versions of Oz I can get. That sounds fucking rad.
Hell yeah. No, I'd be happy to send you the page. It's just a lot of fun.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's like a currently ongoing thing?
Yeah, I think, here, let me check. I think the last chapter was like a week or two ago. But obviously, art is hard, so it's... Yeah, the last one was May 19th.
Okay, that's pretty reasonable. And that's on Webtoons.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you can find it anywhere else, but...
Okay. Well, that'll be a cool shout out. I bet they'll really appreciate it. I don't know if they'll. I don't know. Like, I think it's cool to shout out indie art like that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think for everyone who is listening, go read the webtoon and tell them that Toast and Roast sent you, and make sure to, you know, I think one of the things is a lot of artists like will release really great stuff like this, and sometimes it can be a little thankless. So I think it's always important to like let artists know how much you love their work.
Yeah.
But yeah, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna just suggest, like, is that make it Dav's turn?
Yeah, I was gonna say if neither of you have anything else to say, I'll pass it over to Dav.
Who the fuck is Dav? Who do you keep
Sorry.
passing it
I'm sorry. I'll pass it over to Dak. I'll pass it over to Dak. Dak, are you ready?
Dak is ready. Dak is ready to talk about also a third toast, because I was very pleasantly surprised by the latest and, in my opinion, greatest entry in the Final Destination franchise.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Final Destination Bloodlines. This is definitively my new favorite because, 5 is still, I think, a great movie and a great Final Destination. This one does something that I think the franchise has desperately needed, because a very common criticism, and frankly earned criticism, of the Final Destination movies is that they are all kind of the same movie. It's pretty much always the exact same formula of person has a vision, they get a group of friends away from the events of the vision so that they survive, and then they start dying one by one in terrible circumstances. This movie, while it does technically still have the same hook, mixes things up a lot with one very simple change. And that is simply that instead of the visionary getting a group of people away from a horrifying incident that kills a lot of people, they just straight up stop the incident from happening entirely. So they end up saving hundreds of people from the opening disaster, which takes place in the 60s. It's basically like the opening ceremony of this kind of Space Needle-like building in the sort of typical like upstate New York setting that Final Destination tends to take place in. And basically just that building was built like 5 months ahead of schedule. So there's just a ton of problems with it, and basically everything that can go wrong does go wrong in her vision. But she successfully stops all of it, and because so many people were saved, death starts coming after people in the order that they were supposed to die in the vision. But it takes so long to get to some people that they've already started families and had kids and shit in that time. So it starts taking a depth-first search of basically killing off people and the kids that they had who were never supposed to be born. So it's this really just nice, refreshing mix-up of the formula, instead of, just the old way of a few people survive and they all die pretty quick. Now we have generations of people to go through to catch up with all the hundreds of people who were saved from the disaster happening.
And it applies to all of their descendants, since they weren't supposed to exist.
Yeah, exactly. Any of their blood-related descendants that they had in that time, since they weren't supposed to be born, are also up on death's list, essentially. And so this movie kind of follows the family of the visionary, since she was one of the last people to die in her vision. Her and her family are kind of at the tail end of this. And so kind of just showing she's known about everything that's been going on, and it's driven her so paranoid, and nobody believes her, and seeing how she's kind of dealt with that and kind of avoided being, I guess, because she is like next on death's list. There's like a lot of going into how is she not died yet? Like how is she stayed alive for this long and avoided it going on to kill her descendants? But that being said, the deaths that we do get in this movie are still plentiful and extremely creative and fun.
I
Oh my gosh,
Sorry.
I was gonna say the MRI machine is, I think, my favorite death in the entire series.
That whole scene is just amazing. It's so good. The characters are like probably just some of the most likable that they've been in the series. I do enjoy that it seems to be going more this direction of like good people in a shitty situation versus 4, where it's like, I hope all of these people die terrible deaths quickly.
That's something we talked about a lot with the monkey, which kind of has its own tap dance around that in how like meaningless it displays death, whereas this one seems to kind of go in the opposite direction, where death has like every motivator behind it, to the point that the focus is the characters trying to escape it, and you're kind of rooting for them in that point of view.
Yeah, in a way, you're kind of rooting for them. You're also rooting to see more creative and fun deaths, but it's the best of both worlds. I think it's a good balance, even more so than I think 5 struck. And honestly, it's a very funny movie. Like, I think it's funnier than The Monkey, to be honest.
It's
very...
Yeah.
I believe it, but that is actually high praise, because I thought The Monkey was fucking hilarious.
It's so self-aware, and it just has so much fun with everything. There's always been a tongue-in-cheek attitude throughout every single Final Destination movie, I think, more and more as the series has gone on. But this one really embraces it, and it's just some amazing theater reactions from this one too. Willow will know what I'm talking about when I say the scene involving a piano about 10 minutes into the movie was like...
People were cheering for that shit.
People were cheering in the theater, and I went to a second screening, and it was the exact same reaction.
Oh my god. Well, it's the director, make of this what you will. I think the directing duo also did, like, the live-action Kim Possible movie.
Yeah.
Which I don't know what to do with that information, except they seem to just not take themselves that seriously, and that lends itself very well to this one.
It absolutely does. Yeah, I can't believe I never thought before about, like, what would happen if a shitload of people survived an incident. Because I think that the rate at which death goes after people after the initial visions in the movie varies a lot. Like, I think Final Destination 3 takes, like, a while before it starts killing people off, versus something like 2, where the entire movie takes place over the course of, like, 2 days. So it can vary quite a bit, and that being said, I still believe that it would take a long time to kill all the people that kind of resulted from this incident.
With all that meditating said, we shouldn't understate that this pretty much stands on its own, from my understanding.
Yeah. You don't really have to watch any other Final Destination movie before watching really any of them.
Yeah.
I think that, 5 is definitely best watched after 1, but that's pretty much the only required reading I would say is in this. But in the end, I would say that maybe if you do have to watch any Final Destination before Bloodlines, it might be to watch 2. But even then, the connection is not so strong that you're necessarily missing anything. And the kind of one thing that is really just a nice sort of legacy send-off here is Tony Todd's character. reprising his role as William Bloodworth, the kind of creepy coroner we've seen in many other Final Destination movies, and I think that the way that they send him off here is just like perfect. I think it was really cool to see how he fits into the story itself too. But yeah, just overall, really great.
His last line is, I don't know about improvised, but they let him pick something out to kind of send off to the audience, and it's a really poignant bit of dialogue from my understanding.
Yeah, it's unfortunately pretty obvious when you're seeing him on screen that he was at the end of his life here, and they definitely had a good idea that this was going to be his last appearance in the series. So I think they took advantage of that and did a good job with it.
Until he gets turned into like a Fortnite chatbot or something.
Jesus.
Well, shall I take the last one?
Yep, all yours.
Alrighty. Well, I have ultimately a toast of a game I ultimately like, but wound up being kind of a shit show, and I think there's a lot to discuss in a nuanced way, and a lot to roast about it. But I want to be clear up front, this is another situation where I do like this game. I want to talk about Fatal Fury City of the Wolves. So, this is the follow-up to Garou, Mark of the Wolves, within the Fatal Fury series. I think something like north of 2 decades coming. I feel like this is the first in like 26 years. And it is, it feels like SNK kind of putting their chips on the table. Because they rebooted Samurai Showdown, and that was fairly successful. And they've still been making King of Fighters, and those have, like, caught fire relatively well. The way I see it, this is kind of, maybe not a direct response, but I feel like we wouldn't have this game quite the way we do if not for Terry in Smash. Because Fatal Fury and Mark of the Wolves is pretty much Terry's IP. It's like, you could call it, like, I almost, for a long time, thought of him as Terry from King of Fighters, when truly, King of Fighters is the Avengers of SNK, and he's Terry from Fatal Fury, to be completely accurate. So they're like, hey, Terry got a lot of attention in Smash. I could see that being kind of the progenitor to being like, let's just fully bring back Fatal Fury. Not another King of Fighters with, like, characters from everything. Just focusing on Southtown and those characters. And I was really excited for that. They were talking about making this for a long time. Like, there was the initial teaser years ago. And it kind of felt like one of those things that felt so distant that it's almost hard to believe that the game I'm playing today and went out to buy is that Fatal Fury they vaguely teased something like in 2022 or so. That being said, the outcome was this game sold like garbage, and I think one of the higher-ups at SNK had to step down following the fallout of how poorly it did. And as much as I do kind of like this game, I kind of have a hard time sympathizing because the marketing was fascinatingly all over the place. It was just like weird choice after bizarre choice. Probably the most notable being the inclusion of Cristiano Ronaldo as a playable fighter, the real-life soccer player. And he is just like put into the game, and he just looks like Ronaldo. He's not voiced by Ronaldo because he couldn't be bothered. And it is like their biggest possible marketing push to get eyes on this game. Because Fatal Fury isn't Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter. And they needed it to garner attention more than they had. And I truly do feel, you feel in the last, like, death rattle of this game's marketing is just a huge fucking scramble where they collaborate with WWE and they do these really big, kind of 90s, kind of fun trailers where, like, influencers are getting sucked into the game and stuff like that. And Ronaldo and also DJ Salvatore, I can't remember.
Ganache,
yeah. And, like, it just feels like they're throwing a ton of shit at the wall and making as many deals as possible. Ronaldo really just sucks, capital letters, because he is, for all intents and purposes, a shitty person. Maximilian, who's the fighting game influencer, he's like the biggest guy, was really transparent that he received sponsorship offers from SNK about putting their heads together and making some content in collaboration that he turned down because of his dignity, because of his just how he was feeling about Ronaldo, who's, factually not allegedly accused of crimes. I can say factually is banned for Las Vegas, a charge that is connected to sexual assault. And you know what? That's not me. That's me stating the facts that he's not allowed in one of America's biggest cities for whatever he did. You can't fault me for that. Despite that, he is still an astronomically popular athlete. Go figure. He's someone that my students talk about all the time. I think he is the most followed person on Instagram.
Yeah.
Seriously, which, that's a whole other conversation. In the game, he just, sucks. And, Maximilian and all the, aside from the moral implication, he's very clearly a rushed out character. He doesn't have all the same flair to... sorry.
I was just gonna say, you're forgetting, he's not even voiced by himself.
He's not voiced by himself, and neither is DJ Salvatore, who, to be fair, I would wager the Salvatore deal occurred long before, the Cristiano Ronaldo one, because he actually resembles a realized SNK character, and he actually has some history of making music videos in a sci-fi anime style that depicts him getting in big Dragon Ball Z fights. So, and he's weird to play and kind of fun. He's actually been kind of embraced by the masses. Whereas Ronaldo, it feels like they finalized the deal at the last possible moment they could have, and put together this kind of crappy, just generic soccer fighter. He does not look like he belongs in the art style. He looks hyper realistic compared to everybody else. It sucks. It blows.
I know they did a little, I think, interview with him, and they're like, "So what's your favorite move in the game?" And he's just like, the special moves.
The special moves. They're powerful like me. It's also, adding credence to what I'm saying. He is not able to be chosen for arcade mode or episodes of Southtown story campaigns. So they had either no time or no legal creative capacity to create stories or dialogue for him. Meaning, if you're like me and you don't play online that much, I actually have not... Meaning, those are the two modes I'm playing. For all my complaining about Ronaldo, I have not actually encountered him in the game. Because he is not in half the modes. Because he's either legally not allowed or they did not have time and need to patch him in later.
I think it was that he was just such a last-minute addition that they couldn't put him in.
Yeah, it's a shit show. It's a fucking mess. The game, and I think also the game itself is cool. I think it has a bit of a case of too many mechanics where there's your rev meter and your SPG, which carries over from Garou Mark of the Wolves. But it is still a pretty solid footsies fighting game the way Garou was. I described the SNK problem a lot, where I'll play a King of Fighters game and think I didn't care for it, and then try it again and love it because I'm playing as totally different characters. Because SNK fighting is so fucking close up and intensive, and you need to really commit to the fighter you're playing as. And that's kind of a blessing and a curse, because it makes me feel like a fucking genius when I'm playing as the fighters I'm good at, like Gato, and I like the new girl Preacha, and Billy. Those are kind of the three I was rotating between. But no small part of the fun of a fighting game is trying new people. And it's no fun in an SNK game, especially this one, to try someone you don't click with and just get, like, demolished. Because if, SNK is so challenging and so specific in how you play it that in a Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, I can give a whirl to everyone and figure it out. In this one, I would try a character, gradually find I don't click with them, and my day is ruined. And I'm almost at a point of, like, do I like this game? Then I play Gato or Billy again. I'm like, no, I like this game. It's just like, I don't have that room to experiment that I kind of want. And I think they give you some really good, story opportunities. Every character has a really fleshed out backstory. I think another thing they should have done that would have helped them financially is to make this more of a reboot than a continuation. Because this is continuing straight off from the last Fatal Fury game, which is like 26 years ago. And it just hits that fighting game problem of like, stop, nobody cares what the characters are up to. Just maybe make something new. And you could reboot Mark of the Wolves and put Terry in his red Smash clothes instead of his older attire, which would, if you put that on the cover of a game, people will be like, oh, it's the guy from Smash, and more people would buy it. And instead, we're kind of in this kind of drudgery story where it's like, again, 20 years after the last one, Geese Howard is dead, but you get kind of a cool boss fight with him as a ghost Nightmare Geese. It does kind of have a bit of what Super Eye Patch Wolf kind of helped me dub, not personally, I call it E Honda cheeseburger moments, because just the way he described once, like, I'm sick of fighting game characters not knowing what to do, and you'll get their arcade ending, and it's like, well, you tore down Shadaloo, here's E Honda eating a cheeseburger. Because you get these gigantic fucking fighting game casts full of colorful characters, and when people's expectations for more story content are higher, you get stuck in a rut of like, this character has no other relationships with other people. I don't know what to make their story. So here they are opening a restaurant or some goofy shit. And Street Fighter 6 kind of beat those allegations with World Tour mode. This game struggles a bit. You have Preacha, who's the cool kickboxer girl I really love, and her episode of Southtown Story is she sees a ghost, and she's trying to figure out where the ghost came from.
Does she learn where the ghost came from?
It's stupid. It's like, I think it's something, I gave so little of a shit. It was like, I think it's like the spouse of the owner of a food stand she loves, and she finally stops there, and the spirit seems at peace. It's something to that effect. It's like, but her whole thing is she's Joe Higashi's disciple. You'd think you could make a story out of that. And I don't know, it's that kind of like really head-ass fighting game character writing. Gato's episodes of Southtown is he's helping an NPC girl we've never seen before save her NPC boy we've never seen, brother we've never seen before, from a gang of like generic creative characters we've never seen before. So you get the Soul Calibur 6 syndrome of I just want to like fight and explore the relationships with other named characters, not these weird generic like goons. I think when this game hits, it really does hit. I think it took me a second to realize how to work the rev system. And when you do, you feel like God, and you're beating the shit out of your opponent in this really, more grounded fighting game than usual. It gives you a lot of, as tough as I make it sound, it gives you a lot of horizon to play how you want to. The SPG system is a super meter connected directly with your life bar, and you can choose to have it activated right at the start of your life bar, the middle, or the end. And I think that's like a golden way to experiment with different characters. I like this game. I think it has cool stages. I think it, in terms of marketing and story, just like fell like a sack of shit down a staircase. And I think that's worth discussing in this game that I'm disappointed couldn't do better if they just like, I don't know, like again, like just say it's a reboot, put Terry in his red clothes instead of like and market it that way instead of going through all these fucking hoops to catch up with Terry and Rock like 2 decades after the fact. So it's a disappointment in that way. And I think that it's hard not to think of the event this could have been of a Fatal Fury revival. But I think there's still things to find really cool about it. And I'll speak about it positively in a lot of contexts, even if it's probably going to be one of our big shit shows of the year, I imagine.
Yeah, it kind of struck me as looking a little bit mobile game-ish when I saw the footage from it.
Yeah,
No,
it's just such a shame because Fatal Fury is so cool, but they really like screwed the pooch multiple times on this.
I also feel like I think what they should have done is felt out what people would have done with like a Fatal Fury collection. Because those kind of exist, there's a couple, but just package them all in a more convenient way. Again, be like, hey, did you like Terry and Smash? See where he came from. Because people, I think, were pretty ingratiated to that. And then, I don't know, this felt like a lot of rushed decisions and just bizarre. You're exactly right, it is a little mobile-y. It does feel like it's, I will say, it's kind of cool they're giving us the first DLC pass, I think free if you pre-ordered it. I think
the first and last.
Sorry, what were you...
The first and last DLC pass.
Oh, well, they're like, we want to put in every fucking Fatal Fury fighter, but I don't know. Oh well. Should we move to the news?
Yeah, here it is.
Here's the news. Jason Momoa and Roman Reigns are in talks over the Street Fighter movie. I think
interesting.
I think the rumor is Jason Momoa as Blanca, which fucks a little bit. I kind of like it. Roman Reigns is kind of a disaster as a performer, is my understanding. He's a big WWE wrestler. Did you watch Super Eye Patch Wolf's video on him, Dav?
I might have, like, in the background or something. I can't remember him off the top of my head.
He's the suffering succotash guy. The rumor is they want him for Akuma, and that's a little disastrous. This Street Fighter movie has been very tumultuous. It had the Raka Raka guys as directors at first, before that fell apart, which I don't take as a good sign. I think this will be this bodes as being kind of one of those big, like, historic disasters. Drops directors, getting in weird casting choices. I guess we'll just have to see, because, like, for a lot, I think it was intended for release next summer, and was delayed indefinitely, but this is kind of the gasp that they still want to have talks about it, so we'll see how that goes. Alex Garland, who directed Civil War and Annihilation, has signed on to direct an Elden Ring movie.
That is either going to be really incredible or really bad.
Dev, have you played Elden Ring?
No.
Oh, I thought you did. Willow, you've, like, tried it.
Yeah, I played it. It's a fun game.
Okay, cool. Yeah, this might be a rumor. I think Barry Keoghan and Mikey Madison are, like, in talks for the cast, which, like, okay, sure. Yeah, I have no attachment to this IP, but worth bringing up in our sea of, everyone wants that Mario movie / Minecraft money. Seems like an appropriate choice. I think Garland, I think people are weird about Civil War. I think that is a perfectly great movie, and I don't know why people just, like, fail to be normal about it. He also made Warfare this year, which I didn't catch. I think it could be good, but, like you said, it could also just be kind of a fucking disaster. I thought Lilo and Stitch might have been good because I like Dean Fleischer camp, but here we are. Okay, Xbox announces it's going to raise its game prices in response to the success of the Switch 2 pre-sales despite its own price raises. And I want to bring this up especially because I was not happy with how I discussed it last month when we were all, I'll say it, super high, and I was super cavalier about it and, like, handled it really, dumbly, I would say. But the more I listen to discussion about the price of games and how all that is going, I still find myself, I still find myself bristling at the immediate dismissal and frustration of the price raises. I agree it blows, but most people that are involved in games journalism that I choose to listen to, maybe I'm being misled, have basically made it clear that having $60 games as long as we have has been borrowed time. And more importantly than that, when if anyone has that leeway to make changes like that, it would be Nintendo, who historically hasn't had their hands clean of layoffs and things and microtransactions, but has avoided that as long as they could. And bearing in mind inflation and tariffs, I almost am, and I agree it sucks to see what was already a luxury hobby get harder to afford. It feels almost to me like it was kind of inevitable at a certain point, and if we feel as strongly as we do about avoiding layoffs and supporting the industry, and, I also feel there's more ways to play games without paying than ever in way of, like, rental services and Game Pass. That being, and I think Sony has responded to this kind of being like, well, our thing is going to be we're going to hold off on that for a second, unless either of you has heard otherwise.
I haven't heard otherwise.
Yeah, I don't think I have.
Mm-hmm. So I agree, and I'm not trying to say, like, we should be happy about it. Like, $80 for a game is, like, daunting, and it is some sticker shock. But it is also a little sad just because I think Xbox just, like, it was the day after Switch, not long after Switch 2 pre-orders, and Xbox was like, okay, well, we're gonna do the same thing, and we're letting y'all know ahead of time. Which is a little sad, but it's worth bringing up as part of what we're doing in the world we live in.
Yeah.
One news piece that might just be nothing. Like, I think actually this might, I don't know. It's because we talked last time about China announcing it would slow down film production, import of films from America in the wake of tariffs. And I hate to make this a podcast where we talk about Donald Trump every month, but he did also announce he wants to place a 100% tariff on films made outside the US. And there's layers to that where he didn't seem to know what he was talking about, because I do think perhaps he's not as smart as some people believe. There's nuance to that statement that raises a lot of questions. Does he mean films made, like, filmed outside the US physically? Does he mean if it's an American studio, they can't bring in a foreign film? It raises a lot of questions. And truly, there's, like, no real sign of anything actually happening since he said that. I just thought it was worth, discussing box office as often as we do. Like, as recently as last year, I think, like, The Substance was made by a French director, and that was a kind of weird, huge sleeper hit. And I do think that I'm, still uneasy and concerned about the degree to which politics want to control the media we take in and, make more room for propaganda that they're inclined toward.
I think it is really scary, the fact that, like, this one I'm not going to mince my words. This one, like, very stupid asshole is having such an effect on the industries because he clearly doesn't know what he's talking about, and he never has. He's just, I truly think it comes from a point of the fact that, like, he he was never good enough to, like, actually make something as good as a movie, so now he's taking revenge because he's like, well, if I can't do it, then they can't be happy doing it.
And, like, again, I don't bring it up because I think that it's going to impact us right away in the abstract. Like, well, now there's that 100% tariff, and there goes movies. I do think, because I think that what essentially happened was the second people grilled him about it or asked him questions, of course, it turned out he didn't know what he was talking about. And filmmakers were like, and even if your name rhymes with Zaslav or Iger, you're permitting, like, the biggest Warner Brothers tentpole of next year is The Odyssey, and that is filming overseas. And even if you're a shitty businessman who probably voted for Trump, he probably got some angry phone calls. What it does show, though, that is concerning is a concentrated effort to control what we consume as media. That kind of ties into what happened with PBS this month, a huge cut to funding, to my understanding, that resulted in, bizarrely, a kind of a under new management situation where Netflix swooped in and kind of saved Sesame Street. They want to do day and date synchronized PBS and Netflix episode editions. I think I hate to portend, I want to reassure people on one hand that nothing that drastic is going to happen right away, and this doesn't bode well for broader intentions.
Yeah, it's pretty worrying, but I mean, if you don't have access to art, then you're less likely to dream, and if you have less access to education, you're more likely to blindly believe everything, so...
Mm-hmm. And I fully agree with you, and I think that it's hard to say... Sorry, people will talk about, woke Hollywood. And I truly am always trying to be mindful of, like, I feel like if I were to go to the movies, 7 of the 10 big movies that are in theaters, I don't know, would I guess, if you twisted my arm, lean liberal in identity. And, I think that, Republican taste whereas something truly, like, forwardly conservative, like the Ronald Reagan biopic, is kind of like a fringe weird release that doesn't go everywhere. And I think we might see a shift in that, which is, again, scary to consider. We're seeing it in, I think more than any other company, Disney is really kowtowing to that larger perspective, the way, they, removed their trans character from Win or Lose, and the way they really wanted to avoid the cross-dressing aspects of Lilo and Stitch. And I think that's a really troubling portend that I kind of hope, and I think that when you think about what the Academy, right, and I'm all over the place, I know, but you've got things like the biggest movies last year were Anora and The Substance, which all lean very liberal in ideal, and I don't know, it's all troubling. It's a lot to talk about. I don't know if we're going to see a big change right away. I just think that it's a bit of a storm of things to come.
Yeah, we gotta, take care of each other.
Yeah. That was really heavy. Should I bring up something a little lighter?
Yeah, go ahead.
Tattoo Assassins is back.
Oh yeah, I know you've been telling me about that a little bit, and it looks like a fun game.
Oh man, I think it was made in the 90s and deemed unworthy of release One of the functioning arcade cabinets is in Galloping Ghost in Chicago, which, God willing, I am gonna go see in July when I travel there. It is a Mortal Kombat knockoff with the whitest man you've ever seen playing a Native American named Billy Two Moons, and there are fart fatalities and fatalities where you turn each other naked and turn into hot dogs, and it's fucking demented. I think the unfortunate thing is the person who wants to revive it, it's a nearly completed game. The only arcade boards that exist at places like Galloping Ghost and the headquarters where it originated, it's finished except for a few sound bites. Sometimes the wrong sound effect plays, and one or two characters is unvoiced. And the people, I think it's ExArcadia, wants to finish it, but their only means of software and hardware is arcade machines. So you can't... I don't think we'll be buying Tattoo Assassins on PlayStation Store, but God willing, I want to experience finished Tattoo Assassins in some way, shape, or form, because it is a long-legacied fighting game white whale. I'm gonna main the Tanya Harding parody. There is straight up a fighting ice skater based on the Tanya Harding scandal, who kicks around with her ice skates. Fortnite added the AI Darth Vader, and a lot came out of that as well. Because I don't play enough Fortnite to know. He's like an AI teammate that you can also talk to.
Yeah, and it's got an AI of James Earl Jones' voice.
Yes. Approved by his estate, apparently. But, SAG-AFTRA filed an unfair labor practice against Fortnite, which I'm happy about. I don't know if it necessarily means much. There's also the fact that Darth Vader was very specifically hardwired to avoid certain topics and words, and I think people just worked around it within a day. Is that correct?
I think so. It was pretty instantaneous.
So, and if I feel comfortable about that, because I think that'll discourage similar practices, at least until the technology gets better. I was really upset to hear that if you tell Darth Vader you're suicidal, he'll tell you to seek medical treatment. I just think that was really I don't know. I just think we're in a very dark dystopian timeline. Oh man. Did you see the reveal for Wolf in the new Virtua Fighter, Willow?
No, when was that?
Oh, I'm surprised. A couple weeks ago or so, they had a Virtua Fighter Direct. The bummer is it didn't have gameplay, just cinematic. But what it's a good sign, it's, number one, Wolf looks cool as hell. He's the big wrestler. And what they're really, really emphasizing is more story in this game, where story was never an important aspect of Virtua Fighter. And they want to put their stake in that really, really deeply. And I'm happy about that, because I think that's something that's kind of been a barrier for Virtua Fighter. So they're going all in. They're having an announcer share that Wolf went heel and is kind of part of a new wrestling federation. And I'm excited to see what comes of that. We sadly didn't get gameplay, which indicates we might be waiting a while longer. And it's still called, I think, Untitled Virtua Fighter Project. But I think it has every potential to be really fucking cool when we see it finished up.
RGG is just busy.
With Yakuza after Yakuza.
Yakuza after Yakuza and that, and Project Sentry, which may or may not even be a Yakuza game.
And I feel it's almost inevitable we'll get some kind of Yakuza crossover. I feel like they gotta just put in Majima. I know it can't be Kiryu, because I think he doesn't fight girls, right?
Yeah, he doesn't hit women.
Yeah.
More likely to be like Ichiban.
Yeah, that makes sense. And we talked about... Okay. Do y'all have anything else to share, news-wise?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Apparently you can play as Akuma in Monster Hunter.
Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah.
I hear that Monster Hunter is like way more casual, so I've been thinking about at least renting it. Cause I don't know, maybe I want to dip my toe here and there. I'm not like a big Monster Hunter guy.
It seems neat. I heard it has performance issues, though.
Yeah, a lot people who are like really deeply seasoned Monster Hunter experts find it kind of easy. Like it's more of a amusement park ride. But I feel like that's like a good place for someone like me to start who doesn't want to be overwhelmed. Like I think I tried the demo of Rise and I was just like a little like, oh man, a lot in my hands. Oh, I guess it's also probably worth discussing that MK1 is dead, huh, Willow?
Yeah, but we knew. It's just very like, ugh.
There was copium here and there that I kind of wanted to hold on to. And it's also kind of a shit show situation where they had this DLC pass of Cyrax, Sector, Noob, then Conan, who doesn't really have anything to cross-promote with, kind of random. T-1000, who was so fucking cool in the game, but again, not the most timely addition. I think what it kind of came down to is Ghostface is there. And it's my rough understanding, I could be wrong, we were supposed to get a new Scream movie around this time, but Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega walked for, I'd say, reasons that I would side with them on, because they're pro-Palestine. And that kind of made that fall apart. And I'm not saying that was all the fault of that, but I think it's very indicative of just, like, Kombat Pack 2 being such a, like, missed high five. Even as someone who liked it and spoke highly of it, the story ends on a nothing note, where they clearly wanted to do more. The characters were so close to hitting, where Noob and T-1000 are the coolest they've ever been. It introduced animalities, it introduced Floyd, who's some of the coolest shit recently in a fighting game, for my money. And then it just did not live up to those expectations, I think because they didn't have Kombat Pack 1, and there's... What do you think of the rumors that MK1 was supposed to be Injustice 3? Do you think that holds weight?
I don't think so. Everywhere I've heard, it just seems like they were going straight to MK1.
And that makes sense, because they don't want to go because they knew it would take longer. They don't want to go too long without a Mortal Kombat. Some people have drawn, the cameos were supposed to be sidekicks, and it was Omni-Man, Homelander, Peacemaker, because it was an Injustice game. So I see where folks are coming from, but I don't know if it's that deep. As much as MK1 had problems, I think we did it kind of dirty. And I think it sucks that it's in its again, kind of like Multiverses. It hit a point where it was its most playable and got just like shafted completely. Whereas Tekken 8 is making updates that are like nonsense, that have ruined the game kind of from many points of view, to the point that Harada has had to like address the public and apologize in a series of tweets that the development got away from that team, and they're still like coasting. It's like really unfortunate to see.
Yeah, MK is held to like such a different standard, especially because, it's a more Warner Bros. Game, so it has to make a gajillion dollars or it's considered a failure.
Right. It is just, and it's like what I was talking about with video game price raises again. Like when we talked about Spider-Man 2 not long ago, and how that game was, by every metric, a success, but just like was so absurdly expensive to make that it was ultimately a net failure. And when that kind of thing is happening with the biggest games that a bunch of people are working on and their jobs are in jeopardy over, it's why I kind of can't help but lift my hands up and be like, sure, charge me another $20. And I'm not trying to say, oh, I know that money will go to a good place and make people keep their jobs, but the optimist in me has to feel like it would go in that direction, and maybe it is time to, if we were paying $60 for a game as long ago as the Wii, then maybe it is time for that change. I hate to, again, side with side against the consumers in this way, but there's so much talk about layoffs that I think that if that's the step, that's the step. I don't know. Well, I feel like I said a mouthful. Are we about ready to wrap this up? Is there anything else we want to cover?
No, I think that's a bit it.
Alrighty, well, I am going to live longer than Mortal Kombat 1, knock on wood, and I'm Tommy.
And I will live just as long as Tekken 8, and then after that, I'm Post. And I'm Willow.
Toast!
And I will live long enough for a type 1 diabetic. Because I'm not Dak at all. I'm Dav.
Holy shit!
Wait, was Dak even real?
No, it was a character I was just playing. It was me
So
the
wait.
entire time, you fool.
But I told my dad I was going to California, and he said it's nice you'll be able to see Dak. Who am I visiting over there?
I guess
He's
you
never
just
been
have to
wrong.
get here and find out.
So,
Tommy, you don't want to say your dad's never been wrong. Come on.
True, yeah. There's a weirdo with, like, holding up one of those, like, limo signs in marker that says Tommy. It's like, oh god, is this Dak? Alright, good night, everybody.
Good